Okay, so I'm back working on my 2008 Mazda 6 here today, and we got a problem with our blower fan. Okay, so if you come in here with your vehicle on, you've turned this and you're not getting anything at all, then the next thing I want to do is go and check the fuse out here under the hood. Okay, so you got a 40 amp fuse, and it tells you here on this where it's located. So you'd come right here and you got this weird looking fuse, and you can just look in there and usually tell if it's broken or not, but you could also swap it out for one of these and just rule that out. Another easy way, if you've got a multimeter, we can just check for voltage. Okay, so we come over here on the passenger side where this is located, and we're just going to look right up here. You can see the connector, and it's just a little pull down connector here, and you just pull, give it a little pull, and it should just slide off without too much difficulty. Okay, so that's what your connector looks like. And we'll just check this thing out. Now we've got a little clip right here that we need to squeeze, because that's connected to this blower housing here, and it's just a little clip just like this, and you just squeeze those in with some needle nose, or push it with a screwdriver or whatever. Sometimes you can just kind of wiggle it out of there. And that's all it is, it just holds it right there. So with that loose, I'm gonna go ahead and just check and see if I'm getting any voltage right here, just to rule out anything. Most of the time it's gonna be this right here, this blower that's gone bad, but we're gonna go ahead and check that still. Okay, so I just got this set on volts, and I've just got hooked to a ground. I've got my lead hooked to a ground here, a good ground, you gotta be grounded. And I'm just going to probe this connector right here on this side. If I can do this with one hand, now I should be getting some volts. Okay, if we're not getting anything, and you can see what side I'm going on there, then we know we got a problem somewhere else. If we've checked the fuse, then we've got some kind of wire issue or something, but that's kind of unlikely. But if you've got one of these, it's good to rule that out if you got one. Like I said, most of the time it's going to be this blower here, but we know we got volts, so we might as well go ahead and be looking at the blower. Now we could have like a resistor, but it's not working at all, so very unlikely. So we're going to go ahead and get started on taking this out, and we're going to have 4 of these screws. You can see the ones in the front real easily here, but you're going to need a 6mm, what I'm using, just a little screwdriver with a 6mm, and we're going to start taking these out. So we got 4 of them all together. We'll go ahead and get these in the front, and then we got 2 back here in the back. They're a little bit more difficult to get to. So when we get down to the last screw here, we're going to go ahead and get a hand on this, and you can just make a mental note of where this thing is. Of course, you can't really put it in wrong. You got a little place right there that kind of locates it. So it's going to have to go back in this way, but go ahead and get a hand on it once you get this last little screw. And we'll go ahead and pop this thing down here. Okay, so here it is coming down. It comes straight down just like that. And a lot of times these bearings, stuff will get bad and kind of start seizing up too and burn these motors up. But you can see the locations of the screw holes. You got the 2 that were in the front. This is where the little wire tab went. And then you got the 2 in the back. They're not very difficult, just a little bit harder to see back there. So we've got another motor. We're going to go ahead and get that over here. Okay, and here is our replacement, and you can just do a comparison when you get your motor. I'm not using a new one. I just got this one from eBay. It's just an OEM blower motor. Like I said, that one has held up for almost 200,000 miles. So this one, I'm confident will be okay, and it's really not that difficult to replace this. But you can get new ones. I didn't check the part stores, but I know the new ones on eBay were running about $50, $60. I got this one for like $25 with shipping and everything. So I just decided to go with this. And it's identical, you know, just different color blower wheel on here. So, you know, the main thing, make sure that your connector is the same. If you have a newer Mazda 6, you're going to have a different connector that's going to be more flat, so they will have a different connector on them. And also the newer ones have, instead of having the 4 bolt or screw locations, it'll be a 3 screw location, so they don't interchange. So we're just going to go ahead and work on getting this back up in here now that we've checked and made sure everything is the same. Okay, so we're just going to set it into place, and there's this little spot right here that will go right into that location, so there's no mistaking on how that it's going to go. Like I said, if you get a replacement blower, it will need to be the 4 screw bolting tab, not the 3. The 3 would be wrong. That's for like the newer model. So we're going to go ahead now and work on getting our screw started right here, and then we'll work on our other ones and then get to the back. Okay, I just want to show you can reach all these screws easily. It's just a little bit harder to show you. I'm putting the back one in here now. That would be on my left. I'm just fastening it up, and then I've just got the one right over here that'll be on my right side. So they're easy to reach, just a little bit more difficult to show you here, this angle. Okay, now we're just putting in this final one here that's on the right hand side, and just snug them up. They don't just have to be terrible tight, just get it snug, but it's, you know, going into plastic, so you got to be mindful of that and not just get too carried away with it. So with that last screw into place, we're going to go ahead and we'll get our connector up here. And you can see how it's got a little bit of a rounded shape to it, but it's just going to go right back here and just give it a good push, and so that's all there is to that. And then we got our, don't forget your little clip right here. Push that right back into place right there. Make sure that locks in. And of course, most importantly, we'll test this thing out and make sure that we've got everything working. And we can hear it working just fine. Okay, and that's going to conclude replacing this blower fan. Now I just wanted to talk about for a minute of why I actually had what caused the failure of this blower fan. If you want to stick around for this, You'll notice right here that I've got some connections that I had to make here. As it turned out, when this thing was kind of cutting in and out, and I didn't know what was going on, but I had checked it, and this connector was melted. Now you'll notice that this connector doesn't match the connector that is on there now. That connector is the correct connector for this model car. This is a manufacture date of 2007 actually. This connector is not supposed to come in, I believe, until 2009. So if you have a newer Mazda 6, you'll have a connector like this. Okay, well, you can see the problem. This doesn't connect to this fan. So what had been done, I don't know how this connector got in here, why it was like this, but what had been done was they had some assortment of connector pieces like this that were running. Basically, they had these hooked into the fan like so. They had two of these, and then what they'd done is took some tape and taped up over this and simply took this connector and connected it, and it probably worked fine for a while until the resistance got to be too much, or it got wiggled loose, or it started breaking or whatever, because it's just not meant to be like that. It's not holding good. And so what happened, you got excess resistance, started melting the wires, melting the connector here. Could have caused a fire if it hadn't been noticed. Coincidentally, I had checked it because it was cutting out, and I felt under there and the wires were like really hot, but I couldn't see this. From up here I didn't see what was going on, so I hadn't noticed it for a little bit. But I don't know if anyone else has experienced anything like this, but if you do, you'll want to do like what I did and get yourself another connector or pigtail. And that brings me back to the other reason that I replaced it with OEM, because I bought this fan motor and it came with the OEM connector and pigtail for $25. I couldn't beat that. So I got everything I needed. I just took a couple of connectors and crimped it here and put some shrink tube on that. I really like this shrink tube. It serves a couple purposes. For one, it keeps any water that may get in there, keeps any water out of the connectors, and it also insulates it. So if something happened and a wire were to come loose, it's not going to be touching against something else and causing something like what we had here. It's just a very, very dangerous way of hooking something up. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. Like I said, that's what brought to the failure of this, and the whole reason having to replace it anyways. Of course, it does have a lot of miles on it, but anyway, this is the correct connector for this year model. Like I said, I don't think they were supposed to change to this until 2009, so I don't even know why or how this connector ended up in this car. But anyways, I hope you found the video helpful on replacing this blower fan here, and if you found it helpful, give it a like. As always, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, and I thank y'all for watching.